come with me behind the dockets to see all the craziness of the Department of Injustice, not justice. And I know you see all the craziness going on with Dementia Don, who's like failing in health, like mentally, his tirades, it's just it's uncontrollable. You see the dismantling, destruction, and the crash out of his cabinet members. But what's going on in the dockets? What's going on with the lawyers? I'm going to tell you what's going on. I'm going to give you, I took some notes. And this is also for the few members of my community and who watch my videos who said that they don't like the rapid fire legal L's that I've been doing on Mondays and Sundays. I think it's funny. I love that I speed it up and it sounds like the chipmunk and I'm just like comedic. I know. Anyway, but this person, we went slow. So this is for you. And before I go into this, I just want to tell you that I did stray, and I would like you to follow Ash Renee on Threads. You're on Threads. Kyle Cheney, who's on X, he's on Blue Sky. He does a great job with updating, and this is where I get a lot of my sourcing from. I follow them, and they're on it. And so I used to be better at actually going on and say new lawsuit, new cases, and it was really great because that's what I do here. If it's the first time you see me, I take you beyond the headlines and look at the cases to let you know the extent to which the law system and the courts are working, including judges appointed by Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump's first term, George W. Bush, and Ronald Reagan, that they all are usually helping. So he has a losing record, so you don't know. And that's what I do here. And I was more active on that last year. I kind of deviated because I love talking about all this stuff, but I'm going to tell you about the court cases. Like, for example, I would love to talk about Kash Patel crashing out and the recent report out that there were some legal documents related to his abuse of alcohol, though he's suing the Atlantic for interviewing people and FBI agents who came to them, whistleblowed, and said, yeah, no, this guy, we have to get a ramming brand to ram him in because sometimes he's locking himself out. He ain't coming, and he's flying with his girlfriend, and he's doing also and keggers. And he's not a serious person. He's a podcast, and he goes back to podcast. He need to be relieved of his duties. He doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, so we have Kash Patel doing that stuff. I would love to talk about Amanda Ongaro, who I think Amanda Ongaro talking to two newspapers, essentially saying that Donald Trump was not necessarily introduced. That's what I'm saying. I'm reading between tea leaves. My husband wasn't necessarily the one who introduced Donald Trump to Melania. That's what I'm reading too. So she just like, she didn't say that, but that might be coming out. I would love to talk about that. I love to talk about the fact that Donald Trump allegedly told Tulsi Gabbard, like, start packing up your stuff. Start making your way to resign and you're on your way out. Because he's gotten rid of all the women. Because they're like one by one, he's just plucking them off. Like when what says the women who carried the water for the patriarchy, they drown first. So Tulsi, not a serious candidate. They try so hard. And this is what happens when you try so hard to get in the patriarchy, try so hard to please them. Like Kristi Noem wanted so much to be like Donald Trump. She's using all this racist language. That's being used against her in the TPS cases. And then you have Kash Patel talking about, I'm suing all these people, trying to tear a page out of Donald Trump because, they're adopting his personality, and that's what he does. And so Kash Patel thinks he can do the same thing. And just like Donald Trump, you're going to lose all these cases as well. Like, I don't know why they think that if I behave like Donald Trump, if I can, he's unique to his own self. Anyway, I digress. I would love to also talk about the labor secretary who just resigned because there's allegations that she used personal funds, that she was having multiple affairs with members of her staff, that she also didn't show up and she was absentee, that she had some alcohol, that she demoralized the audience, the staff, and it was just a chaotic mess. And which is when you look at it, that's the modus operandi. That's a pattern. Because when you look at Kristi Noem, what she was alleged to have done before she left, it fits, it tracks. And you look at Kash Patel, and you look at Pete Hegseth, who before he was confirmed, acknowledged that he had issues with alcohol, and he also wasn't faithful to his wives. It's a pattern. Kash Patel and the alcohol. It's a pattern. So I can't talk about that. And then I would love to talk about that, but I can't right now. And it is what it is. These TV stars. But you should know also, as I tell you this, one of the things that I saw recently was Don Jr. going on TV show boasting about landing a deal while being an investor or part of a company and getting a deal with his dad. That's a complete conflict of interest. Like, we know they've been grifting, but it's like, why are you on TV admitting your grift? They don't understand. And I think that, and one of the things I've said, if you follow me a lot of times, that from the beginning, Carolyn Levitt did this a lot. Kristi Noem did this. Carl Blanche did this. Steve Miller does this. Donald Trump, obviously. They go on TV. They make these interviews. They make these statements. They do these tweets. They do the social media. They totally contradict what's going on in the courts. Like the courts are saying one thing and trying to defend the lawlessness and making up these arguments. And while they're doing all this is going on, the administration officials are just yapping off the mouth, just saying all sorts of stuff that doesn't make sense. It completely contradicts and undermines their case. And then they're leaving the judges like and the attorneys like this. And that's why the Department of Justice are bleeding attorneys, because they just like, I can't keep up. It's so much is chaotic. And they're going to the courts being blindsided every single time. And look at the cabinets; they're being blindsided. Like I did a review. I'm gonna put a link here. I did a hour long of the Democrats and one senator grilling Marco Rubio. And during that grill session, Marco Rubio revealed that the board of he misstated the what Donald Trump said was the basis of the board of peace. He misstated the Venezuelan extracting those men sent us. He caught. He undermined that. He with what's going on with the envoys, just totally conflicted. Like it just shows that they just don't know what's going on. And you see Donald Trump throwing him on the bus. Like he just says one thing, we're doing this, and it's the first time they're hearing about it is when they're standing next to Donald Trump, or they hear about it themselves in the media, because there's no coordination. That's why it's a mess, because it's just a chaos. It's just a circus. It's all over the damn place, and they don't know what to do. That's why they're failing. They can't govern. They can't govern. They're not organized. They have no discipline. So anyway, so let's get to the cases. So time for the case. I'm sorry, it was 6 minutes of just going on and rattling, but I think that was important to say all those things. I hope you stay with me. Haitians. The government tried to hide. They canceled the temporary protected status of Haitians. The Chrissy Nome did not consult. She's supposed to consult outside agencies and the State Department before you cancel it, to prove that the nation is normal and ready to go. We brought them over here because of instability. The instability has resolved itself. That's when you revoke. That's the law says you can revoke the TPS status. She didn't do any of that. She's a racist. She just said a bunch of bad stuff. And she, after the fact, she did a memo or two. So she did not follow the law. And so they're trying to hide the memo. They're trying to conceal the memo, and they're fighting. They're trying to say, no, we have to hold this memo. The reason why they're trying to hold it and keep it and secure it and do what's called a protective order is because if it's public, then what the basis is, we're all going to know we're going to be reporting on that. And once we report on that, all the other TPS statuses they revoked are going to use that against her to say that, it's going to be a pattern in their case as well. And the judge was like, no, you can't hide everything, especially if it's a final action. Your final action has to be public, ma'am. So you can't hide your final action. So part of your final action, at least that part needs to be, the final action is like your decision has to be based on something. So we need to see that. So if that's in the document, we need to see that while we're litigating. And that needs to be public, because the public needs to know why. It's not a private, I swear to God, I digress. A lot of these people, not Chrissy Nome, are used to private sector life. And so they underestimate the extent to which when you're in public, a lot of the things you do and can get away with in private sector and hide, you can't do that when you're public, because we're the public, you work for us. I think they don't realize y'all destroying our country. That's our country that you just gain the reins of, but you're supposed to work for us. So you are like not doing your job right. So we need to fire all y'all. Anyway, so that's where off the Haitian, while that case is going forward, they argued that Judge Anna Reyes, or they appealed to they appealed to the judge and asked her to stay or pause her order. And they said in their argument that the court's trying to force them to look to other sources. And Judge Anna Reyes was like, I didn't tell you had to do that. Congress said that. That's part of the statutory. That's the statute that says before you can revoke. When they created this program, they said you can revoke it. Here's what you need to do to revoke it. You didn't do any of these things. And so when I, as a judge, say you're supposed to do the other thing, you can't say the judge is trying to do that. No, you didn't follow the law. Congress told you to do that. You violated the law by not following Congress stuff. It's just me telling you violate the law. You can't put that on me. That's you. You did that. You should have followed the law. So that's what happened with the Haitians. And then the Syrians case, we know that because they're trying to get a protective order to hide the fact that Christy Nome didn't do all that. And the judge is like, if it's a final act, you can't hide the final act. So you get a protective order according to protect the names and stuff, so some security stuff, sure. But you can't hide the reasoning behind your final act, ma'am. What's going on here? So there's a final order in the Stonewall case. Remember, there's a flag at the Stonewall Museum, the only historical area in the United States that acknowledges the LGBT community. Stonewall, that's where there's a famous revolution that started on behalf of the LGBT community. This administration just randomly just took it down. The way they took down the slave panels outside the Freedom House and the President's House in Philadelphia, just randomly. They're trying to rewrite history. They're trying to like hide history. This is so Handmaid's Tale-ish. And that those got replaced. They're appealing it, but they're going to lose an appeal. They did the same thing. But in this case, after they already took it down, a organization sued. They decided to reverse and say, okay, we'll put it back. So that case got finalized. So it was like a taco. I should have had this on Taco Tuesday. So that was still sealed. Now Minnesota, I talked about this earlier, just issued just amended their complaint asking for the judge to actually just like toss out all of Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security's practices, including but not limited to violating people's Fourth Amendment rights, putting guns in front of people who are not even targets of your who are citizens who are not even violating an immigration law, going after people who are not the targets, like you're going for this target and to see someone else who's Hispanic or Latino or look like they're foreign and going after them, like trying to stop that practice of doing that. Mandatory cameras, body-worn cameras, mandatory identifications, no masks. What else they say? Make sure that the supremacy clause do not supersede Minnesota law. So when the ICE agent violates our law, we can still prosecute them based on our law. And no going after protesters, no yanking up protesters, no pointing guns just in faces of motorists or random that serve no threat for you, just which is dangerous. It's just an assault. Like no more assaulting people just for existing in your space and opposing you and violating the First Amendment. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that, but that's a really good case. Refugees. So a judge blocked the Trump administration from trying to detain refugees. Here's the thing. Refugees are people who come to the United States because a lot of times the United States have destabilized lots of countries by getting involved in proxy wars and all sorts of like meddling their asses in other countries' business and creating and destabilizing those nations. And because of destabilization, the people flee. They say, well, your country started this. We're coming over there. So we accept them. Refugee is a status you can have. When people come here as refugees, it's an individual by individual basis, which is different from a temporary protected status when they establish like an entire country has a need or has some sort of problem, like Venezuelans or TPS, Afghanistan had the war, Haiti had that earthquake plus the gang violence. And so we determine countries and we allow people from countries to come here on a visa temporarily until the problem goes back. That's the whole country. Refugees are just like people just from all over the world can come here and claim refugee status, and we can accept them on an individual basis. The Trump administration said, these people here who came here, we're going to take them all and detain them now. So the judge looked the fact that you can't. What? Why? What's the basis? They didn't commit any crime. You have nothing. It's on all of the refugees, and it's supposed to be they came here on an individual by individual basis. If you want to detain them, you have to find that they did something individually wrong based on their conditions of being here, and you could detain that one person. You can't say we're detaining all refugees. Get the fuck out of here. I didn't say get the fuck out of here, but they might as well have. So that's a good case. Then we have the sanctuary. What does it say? Oh, National Endowment of Humanities. I talked about this before, how the Trump administration has a bunch of sycophants, but in hindsight, the people who stayed, who didn't leave, or who didn't get Doge cut, who are there just need a check and need insurance, and so they're there. So it's hard for them to get talent because who wants to work in this administration? Honestly, there are people desperate, but some people just don't want to work in the administration. And heading them, and then they want their sycophants to head it. So one of the sycophants is like a realtor. He has these realtor parties, a realtor lawyer, a real estate lawyer, which no library, no humanities, no museum experience, though the law that creates the National Endowment of Humanities says whoever is the executive director has to have library experience or museum experience. The guy heading it now has none of that. He's just a lawyer. And the thing about that is when Donald Trump put these sycophants in these positions, like Linda McMahon to head Department of Education, she has no education background whatsoever. He just gave her a role. And then he said, destroy them. She's okay. She destroys them and tries to dismantle it. When she made Kari Lake the head of it was determined that she's not there lawfully. He made her head of the global media. He said, just dismantle it, defund it, dismantle it, and tear it off. And they said, okay. Turner, the black guy who's an NFL player who has no experience, his head just said, dismantle the head, just to take away all the, okay. They don't have any commitment. They don't understand government service, and they have no commitment to people. They don't have the commitment to serve. They're only committed to Donald Trump and the ideology. I'm looking up the Turner his last name. I forget his name. He's such a pain in the ass. I see his name every once in a while. Scott Turner. Yeah, so that case is closed. There's a closing of that case, where essentially he just like fired the entire like board, revoked all the grants, shut everything down, because Donald Trump said, we're going to shut down Humanities, we're going to make it something else. And they sued. They say, no, this is actually a statutory requirement. It has to be funded. It has to be, you can't do this. And so there you go. Now that so that's that. That was closed. And the HUD, let's talk about HUD. So HUD tried to, Donald Trump issued executive order like, anti-trans. So all the departments just removed trans. So they tried to revoke the grants and impose brand new requirements on grant holders for people who see and protect and house and provide services to the unhoused population in the United States. And the new requirement is that you can't serve trans community. So they hate trans so much, which is also not real, because Donald Trump said this during 10 years ago. He said he's not against trans. So why all of a sudden your administration, you issued an executive order calling for the total dismantling of trans rights? Right now he's trying to put a trans woman into a male prison. That's a violation of the 8th Amendment. So he's doing what he's doing. He's very cruel, but he's a hypocrite, and he's being puppeteered by the techno-fascists and the Christian fascists. And anyway, so he tells HUD, we're going to, he said executive order, and they say the new requirements, you can't be serving trans people. So these people are like, we're going to revoke our grants. If you revoke our grants, that means everybody. So not just the trans, everybody of all races, all ethnicity, all genders, all sexualities are going to lose the rights and benefits because you take our grants, because you want to punish trans so much. People represent like less than 1% of the population. What the freak? They go after people. They're going after the federal workers. The federal workers represent like less than 4% of the whole population of workers in the United States. They represent like 4%. And like when they go after people of color, the minority is growing, but they're targeting people who they see as a threat to them, who represent like, they're just living, existing. They just want to disrupt people's lives and be cruel. So we'll see. There's a grant. There is a program that it's like a magnet program. Essentially, was a program that was created to desegregate schools, and is essentially diversity to diversify schools. The purpose of it is to give funding to people that are trying to make sure predominantly white schools or schools are diverse. They try to change the structure. It was like that program was created by Congress for the purposes of the diversity, of adding diversity. You can't change it. Congress created to be diverse. The fuck you, the hell, get out of here, you little racist motherfuckers. So that case got blocked temporarily. We'll see, but it's going to get blocked permanently. It's kind of congressional intent was to create this. You can't come in here and say, well, I'm racist now, so all these laws that give all these other countries, all these other cultures, opportunities and diversity, and looking to redress or fix or address pockets of communities, I'm not going to do because I don't like, because I'm a racist and I hate people of color. And so that's our, no, the blowback. I cannot wait. Please, God, give me long life. Let me stay here. And if something happens to me, God forbid, I want to come back and haunt all these motherfuckers who did this shit. Anyway, so then there's this other program called, it's a tracking system that all the colleges, post-secondary institutions use to track the race and gender of applicants and all this sorts of things. They use it for their own institutional needs and for whatever. Donald Trump said, we're going to take over that and try to see and use that in our anti-DI policies to see to the extent to which there may be some reference or preference to people of color, and it's supposed to be some sort of anti-white bias, which is that's not a thing. They believe it. That got blocked. So you see the pattern here, and it's so funny is because the people, here's the thing, when he did, so many of the MAGA's people kept saying for so long, Donald Trump's not racist. We're good people. We're not racist people. But then Donald Trump, a lot of his policies are racist. He's purposely punishing people of color, Hispanic. He just recently made a slur regarding Asians. He's a racist man. His policies are racist. If you thought he wasn't racist before, now you know for sure that motherfucker is racist. It's hard. And if anyone says they're not racist, they're a bot. They're either a cultist or they're a bot. Anyway, so that's your update. I'm hot. I was going to talk about Guillermo Alberto Garcia. They're trying to punish him if I send him to Liberia, even though Costa Rica agreed to keep him. And then they're trying to make the judge hurry the case along so they can appeal. The judge is like, it's your ass is making it slow. Mess. Anyway, I'll keep you updated. JJ Legal, each one teach one. Share this video so more people know.